Joining me on Spotlight this weekend is Walter Lindner, the former ambassador of Germany to India. Many thanks for joining us here on India Today, Walter.
Good evening, Meena. It's good to be there.
Thank you so much for doing this. Let's begin with the 80th anniversary of the Normandy landings, and President Biden said, and I quote, "We cannot let that happen. To surrender to bullies and to bow down to dictators is simply unthinkable." Is the Europe and US now prepared to fight and protect Ukraine? Because we will talk about the fact that there was a time when Soviet Union fought the Germans to protect the world from fascism, from Nazism, and now we are looking at a reverse order. Can we avoid a World War III?
Yeah, it's very true. These 80 years make a really big difference because it was a different situation 80 years ago. And now, because of the aggression war of Putin, things are totally different. Putin is not invited. And this is just an expression of how serious the situation is. It's not only that Putin has invaded Ukraine. By doing so, he has sort of giving a bad example for all nations in the world. What can happen if a bully nation is just out of the blue invading his neighboring country? And for the other point, I think, which is important, is he has now changed the world, the whole chemistry of the world. Everyone is talking about military, about wars, about aggressions, and the money is diverted from, let's say, development projects towards war productions. This can't be in the interest of anyone. So this is all because of this aggression war.
Well, it's all good right now because we have Democrats in the United States of America, but a lot can change for Europe. And will Europe be able to prepare itself militarily, Ambassador Lindner, if Trump comes to power? Because Trump has already said that if he comes to power, he will let Russia do whatever the hell it wants. And I'm quoting him again. So is Europe and NATO really prepared to counter those challenges militarily, economically? When it comes to US, should there be a situation where US does not support the NATO and Europe as much as it is doing right now?
Well, I'm not a big fan of the what-if questions. What if Trump would be winning? This is a democracy. Let's see. Both sides have the chances to win. And if everyone can have his own preference. I do certainly have my preference, as many others in the world might have. But, this is the vote of the American people. Let's see. And then let's see whatever has been said before elections, in an election campaign, what is the truth afterwards. This is true for every country. Yes, we are prepared to further assist Ukraine, as we have done from the day one, because we have seen it from the day one. It's unlike for India. Ukraine for us is a neighboring country, and the borders are just bordering the European Union. So that's why for us, this is a crucial conflict, which is really dominating quite a lot of our agenda. So that's why we have, from the first day on, we have supported Ukraine with all the help that they needed, and we are certainly ready to continue that. Right. Whoever wins in Washington.
Right. It's a very changed world order in these 80 years. We've seen a lot of changes. We've been discussing the Normandy landings, but now we have different conflicts that the world is embroiled in, whether it's the Israel-Hamas war or, for that matter, the Russia-Ukraine war. But the biggest issue for Europe today is migrants. And with a lot of governments now moving right, or inclined towards the right, we've seen Germany actually come as a saving grace for many of those. But how do you think these governments and Europe can tackle this crisis?
Well, again, in a democracy, you have to be prepared for anything, whatever the voter says. But of course, we are fighting for the strengthening of democratic parties and democratic regimes across Europe. Of course, these might have different phases in some other country, and not every democracy is the same. But in general, I guess we in Europe have a certain kind of vision how we think things should be run democratically. So, and we will try everything we can to maintain that. And I think I'm confident that we have, even if there's a kind of might be a shift towards more the right side, this will be corrected during the next periods, and that elections maybe are different things than predictions and polls. So I'm confident that we are in the end having a stable democratic majority wherever we look in Europe.
All right. Again, when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine war, we are looking at it, the world looks at it. A lot of them criticized India for its position, but the world is looking at it like a European war. In that, we've seen Germany come out in support and has been providing with support, weapons, so on and so forth. But in a larger scenario, what is the kind of support that will continue for Ukraine at a time when Ukraine has been saying that not enough is being done and that they really require a lot more in terms of weapons, ammunition, support from the West? Do you think there is more that can be done? And in another scenario, can Germany ever play peacemaker, mediator in this war?
Well, you see, there are two big conferences coming up in the month of July. One is in Berlin, which is a reconstruction, Ukraine reconstruction conference, where you have a lot of actors coming together and talking about what can be done afterwards. After one day the war is over, what can be done to reconstruct the country, to help getting on the better footing again. So this will be an important conference, and there's another one in Switzerland. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, India is also going to participate there.
Absolutely.
And which is also a conference where people talk about possibilities of what would be the ingredients of a peace, which is, of course, which you need two parts, and Russia is not there. So it is a tricky situation, and I'm sure behind the scenes there are people who think about what can be done if the day X comes when there is a window of opportunity, whether this is a European country who could help there, or whether it would be India or what would be other countries. That remains to be seen. By the way, India has a big advantage because it has good connections to both Ukraine and to Putin. Right. And by the way, to Palestine and to Netanyahu, and to China and to Russia and to Europe and to the US. So there are not many, well, there's no country on this planet who can balance between different powers and power blocks as India does. And they did it very skillfully with a great foreign minister. So whether this might be a decisive factor one day, it remains to be seen, because at the moment it doesn't look like Putin is willing to do anything which smells of negotiations.
Ambassador Walter Lindner, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today.
You're welcome.